Welcome to yet another interesting episode of The Verdict. Today we are discussing another interesting topic dubbed Religion and Elections. My guest on the program is coming from the Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission. He is the Executive Director, Mr. Banda, accompanied by his Secretary General, Bishop Luke Mwanza. Your host, I'm Patrick Soko. And later on the program, you'll be given a platform to contribute on this program. Let me just welcome my guests. Welcome to the program, Mr. Mwanza, as well as Mr. Banda.
Thank you, and good evening, viewers.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers.
I'd rather address you as Mr. Banda because of the hats that you wear in terms of your organization. But he is Bishop Mwanza. For him, we can call him Bishop, but for you, we'll call you Mr. Mwanza because you are not just a bishop, you represent other religions and the organization that you head. Today, we are discussing religion and elections, and we want to tap into various aspects in as far as religious issues are concerned, Mr. Banda. To start with the program first, let's bring to speed our viewers what is the Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission all about?
Well, the Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission is an organization which was established by faith-based organizations that are from different sectors of faiths. We have people who are Christians, we have got Muslims, Hindus, and Baha'i faith, and those, actually, every religious grouping which is legally registered in Zambia affiliates to the Southern Africa Interfaith. That's why it is called Interfaith Peace Mission. And together we come to value peace as a central catalyst to development, and we are saying, let us embrace peace towards one another.
You want to add on?
Yeah, we started this organization, I think, late last year, November, December somewhere, but we started operating officially this year around January. And we are looking at peace. That is very important, especially as we head towards the general elections in Zambia this year.
Interesting. Now, faith mission, basically I want to find out how do you make sure that all religious faith are affiliated to the organization? How do you draw the membership, and how do you coordinate such activities?
We are an inclusive organization where when we are talking about peace, first of all, peace is religious. And if you look at even our friends in the Islamic sector, when he's greeting you, he's going to say Salaam Alaikum, which means peace be with you. All right. And those who understand him are going to respond, Wa alaikum salam wa alaikum matullahi wa barakatuh. So that is Hebrew. That is, Arabic. We say, I receive the peace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I receive the peace of God, our Creator, and also I give it back to you. So what we did is we went around and actually, sold our vision, and the general populace of all faiths began to buy the vision and join the vision, and later on they were connected to registration and became our members.
Interesting stuff there. Well, our dear viewers, in case you're just joining us, we are discussing religion and elections. As you are already aware, Zambia will be going to the polls, to be specific, on the 12th of August, when we'll be electing leaders in various categories, be it at as councillors, council chairpersons, members of parliament, even at presidential level. So a number of topics are being discussed on this very platform to ensure that you, our viewers, are given enough information so that you'll be able to make a verdict when you are going to cast your vote. You make your decision based on a wise decision. But before we get into the nitty-gritties of this topic of discussion, we'd like to take a short break. We'll be back shortly with another interesting discussions with my guests as we unpack our religious issues.
Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
We celebrate for all you've done. Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate. Lord, we give you all the
2021 with your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
We have believed that every Zambian was born for greatness, and that you and I can contribute to the development of this nation.
The big questions to ask are: can Zambia develop through agriculture? Can we produce indigenous Zambian millionaires? Plan not to miss this national conference on empowering Zambians through agriculture knowledge. Dates: 28th to 29th May 2021. Time: 0730 hours to 1630 hours. Venue: the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Charges: 950 kwacha, lunch inclusive for both days. Payments through via mobile money on 0962 965 883 or 0979 753 010, or you can pay via Stanbic Bank account number 91 3000 1825 325. Speakers will be Professor Reda.
We need Zambia to be one of the best nations in Africa.
Professor Munkumba.
If you just listen to a lecture, you may remember hardly anything. In 2 weeks' time, it's all gone. If you read, you may remember 10% of what you've read. If you participate in a discussion, 50% retention of the knowledge. So I always tell people, knowledge is the only thing that when you share it, you don't lose it.
Professor Msongole.
Agriculture can actually solve our unemployment for our youth. Through exports, agricultural exports, we can also stabilize our foreign exchange.
Honorable Bob Chinga.
When you do a budget, you plan it so that all the sectors, especially those that will give you low-lying fruits, in other words, you can achieve a lot with it, are the first things you do first.
And biologist Kamweneshe.
If we came together and put our hands together and concentrate on the soil. The people in Kenya, these Swahili people say, Dongo ni mali, means soil, that's money.
Register your participation through Camnet lines. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We are glad that you could still stay with us. We are discussing religion and elections. My guest on the program, coming from the Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission, I have the Executive Director, Mr. Howard Banda, and the General Secretary, Mr. Luke Mwanza. Well, as we get deep into the topic of discussion, first of all, want to get hold of this concept. We have the Ministry of Religious Affairs in Zambia. I want to find out how you work with the Ministry of Religious Affairs, considering that there's been a perception that it is a Ministry of Christian Affairs. But how are you working to demystify that concept?
Well, first and foremost, we're looking at a country which is declared a Christian nation. We have got many countries which have been declared under different faiths. If you go to some other countries, they will say the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran. But that does not mean that Christians are not there. All right, but they take the biggest call in the sense that that is the declaration that the interest of the people at heart in that particular nation is Islam, and it caters 95 or 98% of the community are Muslims, but they are able, to work together with different faiths. Why they don't agree, they come to the round table and they educate one another why they are not agreeing in such kind of forums. At the end of the day, the Ministry of Religious Affairs was established, and this is not the first time we have got Ministry of Religious Affairs. Even in times of Dr. Karunda, we had that religious ministry before. But now this time, because of the declaration, most of the Christian activities are highly monitored. That is why most of people, they think that the ministry is focused only on Christian faith. It's not true. every faith that is in the country, as long as it has got a religious connotation, it is addressed as a religion and you submit to the Ministry of Religious Affairs. And even when they come in the country, before they are sanctioned to permanently stay and execute their services in the country, they are also actually given some checks and balances. They are also monitored. That is why you are able to see that some of them, religious leaders have come to Zambia and easily been deported. So the center focus is a declaration, and yet working together in harmony with other different religious faiths like Islam, Hindu, Baha'i faith, and so forth. So the government of the day does not have a ministry that looks into Christian affairs only. No, it is only looking at, they look at the broad picture where Muslims come together, because they are also stakeholders. They be at social and also economic dispensation. They are a stakeholder.
Based on that, we would see, for example, when we are talking about issues to do with the Day of National Prayer, for instance, you would see the Ministry of Religious Affairs coming out to issue the statement, even lead the way. But when it comes to activities, for example, of, you mentioned the number of religions that are practiced in Zambia, we do not see them with the same action or emphasis, even just, for example, issuing a statement to just, for example, the Muslim, we are having the Ramadan. What about if we say, oh, our friends will be commemorating this, okay, this and that, but you would never see such pronouncement. But don't you think that that aspect is contributing to the perception that probably the ministry is concentrating on only Christian affairs?
What is in the mind of some of these religious leaders, they may make the Ministry of Religious Affairs to be ineffective or inefficiency, in the sense that to them, they're so secretive, all right? When it comes to Ramadan, it should take even the acting president of the Islamic Supreme Council of Zambia, Sheikh Bilal, to come in the open and address issues and meet the minister or meet the ministry, and they tell them about the activities that the Muslims are going, will be undertaking during their festivals. Now, if they are reserved, the minister will not even know what to work, because she's not a Muslim. In the first place, she's not a Muslim, but she's running a broader ministry that looks into bigger, into a lot of religious faiths. But if the religious leaders who are in this country are not flexible to the ministry and address the minister issues pertaining to such, they will look like they are sidelined, but it's not like that.
In other words, you are saying they need to be proactive.
They need to be proactive. They need to.
Mr. Mwanza, any addition to that?
I believe that should be the case, because even in Christian circles, there are certain churches who do not participate in such programs, because they feel that they are not part of Christian circle. I don't want to mention some names of certain churches or certain religious organizations, but of course we know that there are certain religious organizations that do not want to partake of such programs. When there's a National Prayer Day, mostly it's usually Pentecostals and these other churches, but certain churches you will never see them in such programs. So you can't force them. There's nothing you can do. You just accept what they believe.
We also want to get your views regarding the concept that has been taken by some clergymen, where they parade politicians on a Sunday, mostly on a weekly basis on Sundays, especially this time of elections. But now we just want to get what should be the role of the church, especially in this election year, to avoid a politician abusing the platform, the church platform, which is merely supposed to accommodate everyone. What should be the role of the church, especially in this year's election?
You see, governance is godly, and you cannot govern without God. That's why even Romans chapter 13 tells us clearly, governance is godly. So if they're invited to church to come and speak politics in the church, that's the wrong side, it's the wrong coin. But if they have been invited to church as individuals coming to address the church on issues of grace, issues of scripture, and if there's issues of development, the church actually accommodates a huge, numerical following. So at the end of the day, the politicians are not supposed to come and speak politics in church, but they're supposed to come and articulate issues that will, enhance development, confidence, and bringing together the true value of our belief in our God who's in heaven.
Interesting. Mr. Manza?
I feel that the church should be very careful in handling politicians, because I've seen, as you have said, most of the time that at this time when towards elections, that's when many politicians want to visit churches, make a lot of promises, and so behind the motive is to woo voters for themselves. But then there are other churches I've seen also who deliberately invite politicians at this time of the as we go towards the election, they deliberately invite them with a so
because they are willing to spend this time.
Yes, they know that when he comes, you will not just go empty-handed, you will leave them something, and that will help them as a church financially. And by so doing, politicians also manipulate the churches, which is not supposed to be the case. So both the leaders, the pastors, the leaders of the churches should be careful at this time, because they will end up dividing the flock. We do not want to see a situation where people start fighting in the church because this other group supports the other group supports the other party, which is not supposed to. A church is supposed to be a unifying factor for everybody. A church doesn't look at where you come from, maybe in terms of tribe. Shouldn't look at in terms of political affiliation. The church must be neutral, and the leaders must make sure that they preach peace. It is up to the individual members now to go and vote whoever they want to vote for. So let us be careful, church leaders, at this time, that we should not divide the flock.
Interesting.
Also, on that very, I'm quite keen that we have got a certain problem with these so-called Kandile pastors. Sorry to mention that. Because
what does Kandile mean?
Those just want to eat. Okay, thinking to say, I'm running a church, I'm going to get minister or get honorable to come in the church, so that before he goes, I will call him in my office and get something out of him. And they only want to disturb the true purpose of the house of God. The true purpose of the house of God is to deliver the people of this world to the salvation. And that because they've been given an attitude of certain things, prosperity stuff. If I see the pastor prosper, which means he's a real man of God, not knowing that he's been lobbying, wrongly towards politicians. So, and the politicians have bought the church today. That is why the world has preached to the church, and the church has not yet preached to the world.
Thank you for those remarks. Well, our dear viewers, you can also participate on the program by dialing the numbers that are scrolling on your screens. We are discussing religion and elections. My guest on the program coming from Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission, an organization that seeks to build synergies among different faiths. Now, interesting, this issue has been topical for some time now. But how can we create barriers to that? Or how can we create boundaries in terms to say, okay, this is not a go area. Okay, let's restrict ourselves to doing this, because we see churches also use the politicians as fundraising ventures. Yes. So now, but that and the politicians would come to influence the voters to vote for them. And sometimes the same politicians have been accused of corruption. So now, the money that has for example, the money that has been obtained through corrupt means, again, as a church, you are receiving. What is your view on that aspect?
It's a bit tricky. All we can say here is that...
because now we are talking about corruption and the church now, because the church has a huge role in terms of fighting corruption.
That's where it becomes tricky, because as a church, usually and normally you must be neutral, so that you don't seem to compromise. Because if politicians come to my church and the politician leaves me with 500,000 kwacha, even if he does wrong things tomorrow, my voice will not be heard, because I know that I got something from him. I should not come strong against him. So somehow I'll be reserved the way I may differ with him. So that's why the church sometimes becomes so quiet on certain issues. When there are corrupt issues, the church is quiet, because most church leaders have been oiled, so to speak. But if the church is neutral and it doesn't side with anybody else, they will have a strong voice. Even when they are given, they will be very careful how they are given, because you need to be very careful how you handle politicians. If they are to come to the church, let them come, but let them be neutral also. Let them speak what they have come to speak, and let them just stick to what is on the table. But if you allow a politician to come and start maybe campaigning in the church, I think that is going out of the way. It's better he comes to deliver a message of peace, to encourage people to vote peacefully, then it ends there. Whatever happens thereafter, the church will stand and be firm on the truth.
Mr. Banda, on that?
The other thing that I will tell you, that the church has never built a strong financial base, in the sense that mostly we are begging the church to give, all right? And when we say give, first thing, the church begin to complain. They have given us names. You know, why that bishop talking about giving and so forth? Why? It's because we want to put up a strong financial base whereby any man of God will not be doing to do a wrong because of the financial support you're expecting from somebody who was stolen from money which is coming from a corrupt activity. All right? So that's why some churches are mute. They can't talk about corruption because they're beneficiaries of such kind of things. But now, as Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission, we are saying together we can fight that evil, and together we can raise the standard of Zambia to another level. If we come together, the church and other religious groupings coming together, we can bring about a Zambia which is nurtured with integrity, principle, and dignity. Just like the way the Dara is easily collecting revenue from you and me. That is the way how the church should also collect revenue from the membership. Now, because of the limitations, you will find that most of the pastors have compromised and they have actually deliberately overcome the wrong stuff in the church. As a result, people have come to flash money, people have come to flash just to ensure that they get the confidence of the general populace. But the church has been has kept quiet over such. We need a strong voice when it comes to such. When we're going towards the elections today, religious activities should never change. We look at Malachi chapter 3, it says, I, the Lord God, I do not change. This is a time when the church should come together, pray. You touched about the day of national prayers, where some religions don't participate. All right, and the one I told you that there should be a collective responsibility. All right, the last National Day of Prayer and Fasting, some religions also participated, although they never mixed with the Christians. Because even if they mix, what will a Muslim hear when you and me begin to flock in tongues? What will a Christian hear when a Muslim begin to say Allahu Akbar? What is he going to hear? All right, so being in such, it's like, it is the duty of these leaders to participate, to involve, to include. All right. Now, the church has not been spared by the spare of corruption. That is true. Okay. And even these who are corrupt, they are members of other churches, and they have been rebuked openly by their leaders, because the fear is, if I rebuke and he run away, who's going to give that tithe? Who's going to build that office? Who's going to give that 100 bags of meal to widows in this house? If people will hear that he has left the church, how many will go with him? You understand that? So this is where the church has compromised. And that is why other people, they call it politics of the belly.
Interesting.
And also, as the Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission, we also want to dismantle this issue of Christians for Kambwili, Christians for Karaba, Christians are supposed to be for Christ.
Not for Lungu.
No. Let's build the kingdom of God. And then the kingdom of God, members of the kingdom of God, now we will help in the governance of this country. But if we start dividing the body of Christ to be following certain individuals, then we are making a very big mistake.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, in case you want to participate on the program, you can dial the number 0968 675273. Then we'll be able to pick your call so that you can contribute. You can ask our guests some question based on the topic of discussion. Going on with the program, there's another interesting subject that emerged actually prior. This is an election year, and this year's elections are also unique. We are hosting them amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the Ministry of Religious Affairs actually came up with a COVID relief fund. So I want to get your analysis on that fund. And I want you to put into perspective the aspect of other religions, because we've seen churches benefit. But this is a project that is under the Ministry of Religious Affairs. Don't you think they could have also reached out to others? Mr. Banda.
I may sound like I'm defending the Ministry of Religious Affairs, but I want to be so real here. All right. The fund was given to the ministry to meet or mitigate the economic impact that the religions are facing today. But if we exempt ourselves from a religion, or to be called a religion, we begin to think the other religions are much more important than our religion. All right. Tell me today, I've never had a report of any religious leader who had gone from outside Christianity, but who had gone to ask for the guideline on how to obtain that fund. Because that fund has got guidelines how to obtain. You have to be a registered organization of the church and a certified leader, all right? And the amount they are giving, I cannot discuss today, but the religious leaders should take the task themselves as well, all right? But also on the other part, the minister by then, because now they are all formers, the minister by then had not put in too much, okay? Because when you're a mother, you know that I've got 200 sheep here, one is missing. They come to suck from my breasts, but what is the other one? Let me also look for the other one. Let me hear what they're doing. First of all, the ministry is supposed to know what the Islamic programs are about, how the Hindus are also providing a lot of things to mitigate some impacts that are negative, all right, how the Baha'i faith are running the affairs of the religion. So if we don't find time to check out about other religions, I think it will be so difficult to be understood. And given the platform, we have interacted before with the actual, the political head of the ministry. I would have thought that they would have also come to find out how many have affiliated to us and what do they do and what is the economic benefit that they are bringing in the country. Because even if you look at the churches today, they are being taxed. Today, the church is being taxed. For your information. All right. There's what we call annual returns, isn't it? Isn't that part of tax?
It is.
Part of tax. All right. But on the Islamic, calendar, they don't. The ministry doesn't even know how much they can collect from each religion, which is very unfortunate. I've gone to across many countries, where I've seen religions, contributing towards the governance of a country. In Zambia today, we don't even have any representative in parliament. There's only one MP who came on board, Honorable Kapalasa. That's the only Islamic MP that I've ever known since I was born. Honorable Kapalasa is a pure Muslim. pure Muslim. That's why even in Parliament, the time came when he was supposed to raise the Bible, he said, I would like to raise the Quran. Okay, because according to them, they don't trust the Bible. You understand that?
Yes, they trust the Quran.
They start the Quran because they say the Bible, the real word in the Bible has been alterated. So they don't trust the Bible. And they want to, even in court, a Muslim will not agree to raise the Bible, but he's going to say, if there's a Quran, I would raise the Quran in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm speaking the truth. And nothing but the truth. My interpretation is in the name of God, Jehovah, our Creator. That is in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, this has created a certain vacuum in their existence under the ministry.
Interesting, Mr. Banda there. Well, our dear viewers, in case you're joining us, we are discussing religion and elections. My guests on the program are coming from the Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission, and I'm hosting the Executive Director, Mr. Howard Banda, and his GS, Mr. Bishop Luke Mwanza. We have a caller. May we have your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, my name is Mwanza from Mazabuka.
Mr. Musenge, you can proceed with your comment.
Yes, to me, the church should not be neutral, but stand firm for the people of God, especially the poor and the underprivileged. What do you think of those religious leaders who campaign for political leaders and even suggested legalities to keep such leadership in power, but fail to stand firm and speak for the underprivileged who have been impoverished by political systems? Two, are all political leaders appointed by God, even those who impose themselves on the people? I thank you very much.
Mr. Musenge has a few questions. Mr. Banda, would you like to take that?
Okay, there is no leadership that exists that God does not ordain, including the King Saul, who was not a very good king. God actually approved his appointment when Israel said, we need a leader. And God said, okay, since you have rejected me, your God, then Paul was elected. I mean, Saul was elected. All right. So, every leadership is actually ordained by God himself. There will be no leadership that will exist that God has not approved. All right. And talking about, I thank God for my brother. Is this what Mr. saying?
Yes.
Yes. Really is telling the truth where some leaders have even vowed to crush other political parties. These are church leaders I'm talking about, which is very unfortunate. The church should play a neutral, base and a neutral role to ensure that everyone, has a direction. And the church is not supposed to be taken into politics. The church is supposed to deliver people from darkness to light, which is salvation. Now, because of the twist of the language, because the Bible has been interpreted by other people, because the twist, they will begin even to preach the political fora that, in the church, in the house of God, which is a sin. It's really not correct to preach politics in the house of God. But the church can give direction. And they speak, yes, on behalf of the, of the fatherless, the widows, and those who are in need. And actually, the role of the church is to lift the standards of people who are in need.
Mr. Mwanza, you want to add on to that?
Yes, I think it would be wrong for the church to remain mute when the underprivileged and the poor are suffering or are being oppressed by certain quotas in the economy or whatever. So the church has the right. In fact, church must stand for the poor and the oppressed, and that must be cardinal. But then what we are saying is, in terms when it comes to political stand, the church is better neutral, especially church leaders are not supposed to side to any political party. Last general election, I witnessed a certain church, big organization, that sided with a certain individual. And they were very firm on that one. There were serious signs of being aligned to a certain political party. And when that political party lost, it was a shame. What do they tell their members? Because every church has different people belonging to different parties. So if you as a church leader start siding to a certain political party, it means you are dividing the flock of Christ. So as a church we must be neutral in terms of politics, but when it comes to speaking for and standing for the oppressed and the poor, the church must rise and speak for them.
Well, in your own observation, which political parties you think are too violent in Zambia? And what practical intervention have you taken? We've seen, and just to kind of bring us to speed of your activity you undertook to ensure that you promote peace ahead of the elections, as you answer that question.
Of all the political parties that are in Zambia currently, the ones that seem to be known for violence are two, PF and UPND. These are two political parties that usually we hear violence of. These other political parties have not heard much in terms of violence and other things, but these two, and these two, they need to be sat down, they need to be talked to strongly, and they need to be advised that they can easily bring flame to this country if they are not careful with what they are doing. And on top of that, we also want to say this issue of cadres need to be looked at critically, because that is how militias start in other countries. We need to tame the cadres so that they behave. Everyone can support a party of their choice, but that extent of providing so-called security that is even beyond the police powers, that is going out of hand, and we need to keep that in this country.
Mr. Banda, your views on that?
First of all, I feel pity when I see a police officer, mostly the powers that are supposed to be vested in them have been taken away by political cadres. All right. And really, if the ECZ had a strong tooth, they should have at least tamed these two, PF and UPND. And these two are supposed also to be tamed by their leaders, which means I'm talking about HH and His Excellency Dr. Edward Chabalungu. At the end of the day, I have never seen the president taking off his jacket. I'm going to fight HH. I've never seen.
We have a caller. May we have your name and where you are calling us from? Hello, you are through to Kamne TV. Come again, we didn't get your name. Sorry, sir. We didn't get your name. Oh, so you can go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Oh, yeah. My contribution is, that they are aware that they are written in the Bible. The king cannot work together with the government. Remember, the government is an enemy of the king. The government and the citizens, the Israelites, are the ones who keep up and prescribe the laws of God. So what is happening recently, at the government now in Zambia and in other parts of the world, people are speaking and reciting political leaders in civilizations because of their stomach, because of their personal gain, because of money, not many other things, Some things they get to stay away from the government. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution, sir.
Okay.
Well, you can still also participate on the program by dialing the number 0968-675273, and you'll be through to Kamne TV to contribute to the topic of discussion, religion and elections. We are discussing together with the Southern Africa Interfaith Peace Mission, and I have the Executive Director, Mr. Banda, and the General Secretary, Bishop Luke Mwanza. You can respond to the concerns from our caller there from Solwezi.
Actually, I want to dispute where he says the government, the government is the enemy of the church. I think, on the contrary, I would ask my brother to go and get to Romans chapter 15 and read it closely. You will discover that it is encouraging us to obey the authorities of the day. And that authority is the government of the day. So we need to understand that. And it is actually not the government that crucified Jesus Christ. It is the people that crucified Jesus Christ. And he was crucified for our sake. So if the government was, if it was wrong to crucify him, then there should be no church.
Actually, it was the church that crucified.
In fact, it was the church.
Requested the powers of the government to crucify.
Yes, the church went to ask from the government. The government, by the high priests were there asking, can we crucify this one? And now the church
was even unwilling to do so.
The government even said, no, I've got nothing to do with this person. You understand that? It's a church that went to ask permission from the government to crucify Jesus. Okay, so as I was saying in my before our caller came in, before I lose my thoughts, I was talking about the systems that are happening today. The church has begun to bend towards the activities of the world, and yet they are saying you are not of this world. All right, we have not prepared. The church has not prepared its membership. Towards the second advent of Jesus Christ, the church has not yet prepared the membership. All right, but we are busy entertaining politics in the church, and again coming to this cadalism. I mean, as Bishop Mwanza said, I think it's not fair. The useful youths are being used to go and kill or hack a productive youth somewhere because of having opposing views towards which political party they are affiliated to. These two political parties in this country, the ECZ, if it had a strong tooth, should have suspended them once before so that it shows a signal of its strength. There should be a deliberate policy whereby any political party which is deemed to be violent should be suspended to participate in other elections, including PF and UPND.
We have a caller. You are through to Camden TV. May we have your name and where you are calling us from? Hello? Hello, you are through to Camden TV. Okay, we lost that one. You can proceed with your
What I was trying to say was that the ECZ should be given the strongest authority to preside over these political parties. There should be a code of conduct that should be given to all political parties. And the ECZ should be respected by these political organizations or political gatherings. Now, because the ECZ doesn't have that strength, okay, them is to declare who wins and who qualifies, who does not win and does not qualify. By looking at the broader picture, where the ECZ takes an instrumental role to ensure that politicians are also protected, because politics is not dirty as people take it. It's not. It's not. What about Daniel, if it was dirty again? Daniel was the prime minister of Babylon, the most significant province that ever existed. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they became governors. All right. So there's nothing wrong in getting into politics as a clergy. But if the clergy want to get into politics, let him resign from the clergyhood and join politics permanently, like Frank Wire did. All right. And we also not talk about politicians, we also talk about the chiefs today who are taking sides in politics. They may make this country, blown by the flames of hate and flames of division. I have interacted with some 4 chiefs in this country that I've told them off to say, really, you are a disgrace to this nation. How can a chief declare war? If this one loses, there will be war. Or in my province, I don't want that political party. I think it's not right.
Hello, you are through to Camden TV. May we have your name and where you are calling us from? Come again? Okay, you can go ahead, though your line is a bit shaky there. You can go ahead with your views.
Dealing with the
Your line is pretty bad, sir. Okay, try to call back. The number is 0968675273 if you want to pass your contribution on the program. Mr. Banda, you were on the floor before I interrupted you.
Yeah, as I was saying, there's need also to curb the traditional leaders getting entertained by politicians and trying to bring in anarchy in the country by advocating for violence if their candidate loses. I think that is not right. In this country, we had the chiefs before. In Dr. Kaunda's government, what Dr. Kaunda did, he had to create a central committee. Despite it was one-party participated democracy, there was a central committee. And that central committee, some senior chiefs were appointed, all right, to be in the central committee of the system. And they were making decisions together. They were included in decision making. But if chiefs want to be included, there's what they call Ministry of
Chiefs and Traditional Affairs.
Yes. That ministry, that is their ministry. Let them make use of it. You don't go and fight a politician outside that ministry. I think there should be a ministry that should guide them. They have got the right to address anybody, follow them to their offices, talk to them about your grievances, but not whereby this chief says, if this one loses, I'll go and sleep in the grave. If this one loses, I'll never allow them in my chiefdom. Actually, they are representing anarchy, and we don't deserve such as a country, Zambia.
And that brings me to another issue. Religion and these chiefs, they form part of the first religion. They should be your members.
Yeah, they have to be. They have to be your members, yes.
Yes, because that's another religion.
Yes,
tradition, yeah, African tradition.
That's a religion.
Yes.
Yes, we have got to, where we can also have these so-called traditional healers. It's part of a religion as well.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, our interest so far is that we want to see a better Zambia built by the atmosphere of grace, purity, and where we come to agree and disagree on a round table, be it peacefully. I can be a Ngoni, a Bemba, Ushi from Mansa, I can be Itonga from Monze, I can be Kaonde, anywhere I can come from. I did not choose to be born a Ngoni or a Tonga or a Lozi, but as long as I was born in Zambia, God chose me to be born in this country to bring out production in order to benefit a lot in this country, rather than being pointed to say, is Ngoni country, is Tonga country, is Lozi country. I don't know why people think other tribes are so inferior. But at the end of the day, it takes the religious leadership, to educate the membership of their religion and bring about a better leadership for tomorrow's Zambia.
And before Mr. Banda, Mr. Mwanza, you chip in. I'll combine this question, so that because this is another interesting topic of discussion, because your organization is instrumental in as far as peace issues are concerned. I want to get an update regarding the peace work we undertook from Lusaka to Kitwe. How was it, and what other activities will follow up in terms of building the momentum in as far as ensuring that peace is upheld in the country?
We had a very, very, very successful walk from Lusaka to Kumabelt. And naturally, what we discovered on the road as we were walking, Zambians naturally, they are peace-loving people. They are very peaceful. To a certain place, we found people eating, drinking together. When we flagged our identities and began to talk to them, we found that somebody was getting his a piece of UPND material and began to say, me, I'm UPND. Another one takes out his clothing, no, me, I'm PF. And together here we are drinking and we are chatting. No one hates anybody because of the political affiliation. We were moved, and that touched me. We found a tree, isn't it?
Yeah.
A tree. We found a tree which had two flags, for UPND and PF.
But others are burning other people's flags now.
And under that tree is a restaurant where all of them meet and eat
from there. And now, those who are doing that, burning the billboards for others, is very un-Zambian. It needs to be condemned at all costs. I wish the Minister of Home Affairs was not former would have asked him to issue a statement on that one. And the IG, I would like to, compel him to follow it, investigate who was behind such, because there is no way that is money spent, and it's actually taxpayers' money spent on that billboard. Regardless, it came from opposition, but that is taxpayers' money too, which need to be protected. People need to be told what they want to do for the other people. Why are they being blocked? That is differentiating. It's an element of differentiating, which is very wrong in the country of this nature, which is being declared a Christian nation, which holds the values of forgiveness, tolerance, acceptance, and love.
Mr. Mwanza.
And those are sources of violence, because if somebody goes to burn up another person's billboard, those also will go and burn 3 of them. Then those again will go back and burn 5 of them. Then that's the beginning of confusion, violence, and even bloodshed. So what we are saying as an organization is that peace is very important, and peace starts with you as an individual. As we went through our trip to Copperbelt, we spoke to a lot of people, different political affiliates, different ages, women, men, and so on and so forth. And what we discovered and learned is that Zambians want peace, and Zambians are peaceful. But from our analysis of the trip and what we heard from people, different people, is that this peace we have in Zambia, all of us want to maintain it. But the problem is not coming from the grassroots. These violence and other issues are coming from political leaders and church leaders. That is why this topic is very important, that church leaders must be very careful what they say to their members, and what statements they give to their members, and also how they invite politicians in their churches. Politicians also must be careful what comes out of their mouth, because what comes from their mouth can easily burn the whole country. And if this country is on fire, no one will be here, this television station will not be here, everyone will be running up and down. And that is not the life that we want. We have seen an inflow of refugees from other countries coming to Zambia. We have seen illegal immigrants coming to Zambia. We stay with them in these compounds. They are making shops all over because they confuse their peace in the country where they are coming from. And it's easy for us also, when we confuse the peace we have, we find ourselves somewhere. And that is not what we want.
And they call refugees.
Mr. Banda, as we come towards the end of our program, I would like to get your concluding remarks.
Yes, as Zambians, as we're getting towards this electoral period, let's ensure that we make good judgments and we speak issues that will benefit the society. Don't speak hate speeches, tribal speeches, or ethnic speeches, or regional speeches. Let's look at Zambia as the place where we all come from. May God really bless us with His grace as we go to the elections.
Mr. Mwanza.
My appeal is to the political players that as we go to the elections, let us be humble enough and allow God to lead, and let us accept the results of the elections. If we lose, we lose. If we win, we win. And let the Zambian will and people's will go ahead, and then peace will follow.
Well, I would like to thank you for finding time to be part of the program.
Thank you.
Well, our dear viewers, we've come to the end of the program. We've been discussing religion and elections. Your host, I've been Patrick Soko. Until next time with another interesting topic of discussion on the verdict, stay tuned to Kamne TV. Remember, Kamne TV is not just another channel.